Welcome to another episode of Heavy Muscle Radio. I'm Dave Palumbo, and I'm joined, as always, by the technician Chris Aceto on this October 2nd, 2017 afternoon. Chris, I don't know what's going on over there in Maine, but technically, I guess we're kind of like in the fall. I mean, maybe not in date, but certainly in spirit. What's the weather like up there?
We are experiencing the remnants of global warming.
It's still warm up there, huh?
It's beautiful today. It's like ridiculously warm. Of course, you know what I do, Dave?
What?
I take a jacket and I go out of the house because I think October 2nd, should be cold.
Right. Not so?
And not even a hint of fall in the air.
Good. That's good, but it'll get cold there, and it will never get cold here. I have no concept of the seasons whatsoever. Matter of fact, it was so hot here yesterday that I actually had to take a shower midday because I was sweating so much. And I think by accident, Amanda and I are trying to reconstruct what happened to me because I couldn't sleep last night. I had only 2 hours of sleep. I couldn't fall asleep. I believe that I was drinking regular coffee at the bagel store by accident. I think they had the stuff mislabeled because I was very productive yesterday. I was planting blueberry bushes. I was planting blackberry bushes. I planted a lime tree. I was sweeping the garage. My wife's like, "What are you doing?" And I'm like, "I didn't even know." I'm like, "I don't know. I just figured I'll do it." So everything was fine the whole day. I didn't really feel racing or anything like that. I just felt good. And then I got into bed at about 1 in the morning, and I couldn't sleep. I was up all night. So
really, what are you doing? What do you do when you're up all night?
I think about all the things I shouldn't be thinking about that I have to do the next day.
That's the worst. That means you're closing in on 50 years old, dude. Yeah. I
was thinking about the fact that OJ was released from prison and he might be moving to Naples down the block, and I'm thinking, how could I get the interview with him?
Yeah.
Who in our industry would know OJ? Dan Solomon? Do you think he's got a...
Dave, I was just going to say dead serious. Some odd, weird way.
Well, I think
Dan Solomon for sure knows who to contact to get in touch with OJ.
Yeah.
And Dan just wouldn't do the interview because he'd consider it too vile, although you would do the interview.
Of course. I'd ask him all the tough questions, too.
Well, that's why you would do it.
Yeah. He might do it. I don't know if anyone else wants to interview him anyway, right?
No,
I guess someone does.
No, everyone wants to. You know what? Everyone is waiting, like the news organizations... Right. For the first one to step it up. And once, if CBS sees that NBC is doing it, then everyone's going to do it. And TMZ may do it, and then all the, quote, traditional news agencies...
I don't know.
Dummies.
I don't know if they're going to do it. I think OJ's like persona non grata.
You know what? There's no such thing as persona non grata. Only Hitler's persona non grata.
You think, OJ's at the age now where, he could be getting a little, demented. He might start, slipping stuff out, saying stuff that he shouldn't say. Like, who's that guy who got caught? They made a whole movie about him. Remember, he was...
The real estate mogul.
Yes, yeah, that guy.
And under his breath at the end, I forget his... there was a real estate mogul in New York.
I watched the whole thing. I can't even remember the guy's name.
Unbelievable.
That's to my memory.
He forgot he was mic'd up.
Yeah.
He admitted to take a leak in the bathroom, and he said, "I killed them all."
Yeah.
Them all. Yeah.
But meanwhile, I think he still got off, didn't he? I don't think he's in jail, is he?
I don't. I think no. They're putting him away now.
Oh, they are. Oh, he's still.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
But they made the whole movie.
He was a real. His family was one of the real deals in New York City real estate. I was
going to say, you probably love that because, as far as the real estate aspect of it, because they own some big buildings in Manhattan.
Yeah, crazy.
Yeah. It's nuts. It's nuts, you think back and you say these buildings were built in the 50s and 60s and they're just going up and up and up and up and up in that value. They never go down.
Yeah, only Jared Kushner has gone down.
I'm surprised you never bought. You being the real estate mogul you are, I'm surprised you haven't gone to New York City and try to pick up a few condos.
I always wanted to, but you know what? That's shoulda, woulda, coulda.
Yeah. So you think you might in the future, or is it too much for you?
No, I'm still being like the big fish in the little pond type thing. But
well, you're in Miami.
You know what?
You're in Miami. You got the the condos there. How are they doing, by the way? Because I think we need them for the Nationals. We're going to need to stay in them. Are they available?
They survived the hurricane.
Oh, good.
And that's it. I haven't given them a lot of thought because I was out of my mind.
Yeah.
Running into that, and then I don't have any. I was out of my mind running into that event, and then here is Puerto Rico getting decimated thereafter, and we're just sitting around, hoping it gets better down there.
The world's falling apart. Did you hear about this shooting? That the guy went on a crazy shooting spree in Las Vegas and killed all these people?
If it was I don't want to make light of it, but I will say this: if it was a Muslim guy, then Trump would have opened up the camps out in California and moved everyone out there. He would have.
There's a lot of psychopaths out there, which is very scary. You know
what? Sometimes I think of Vegas is such an open, crazy, open access to freedoms. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but they have
come and go and go. You can go to the Mandalay, right?
Yeah.
Come and go and go and come. You can go up to any floor, anytime, any hotel in Vegas.
I guess
essentially, to some degree.
Not anymore.
At least
Not anymore. You'll see they're going to have metal detectors everywhere now, probably. Did you hear the Monty Hall died? Let's Make a Deal.
One of my best shows.
96 years old. Can you believe it?
Blackman used to do Let's Make a Deal. I'll give you a cover, and you don't shoot with Dave.
and I won't pay you.
Don't shoot with Dave. I won't pay you. I'll promise you. And I'll give you a cover, which you'll never get. That's behind door number 1 is a cover.
Yeah.
Behind door number 2 is a cover and cash. Yeah. And behind door number 3 would be the donkey.
Right.
Remember?
Right. With my luck, I would have picked the donkey. The funny thing is, he did 4,000 episodes. I thought we did a lot of heavy muscle radio shows. This guy did 4,000 episodes of Let's Make a Deal.
Yeah, he had the long skinny mic. Do you remember the long skinny mic?
That was the '70s microphone before they
Bob Barker still alive? Is Bob Barker from The Price is Right? Is he still?
Yeah, I think they got rid of him too. So who does The Price is Right now?
I think he used to hit on the girls when he was in his 80s. That's why they got rid of him.
Yeah.
I don't know who does The Price is Right. I think it's the guy.
Drew Carey, right. Drew Carey does The Price Right. Who does the Family Feud? That's the Cedric the Entertainer? Is that him? Or
no,
Steve Harvey. Steve Harvey does
Harvey.
That. Right. But, yeah, you know what?
Remember Steve Harvey was there to provide the results for the Miss Universe contest and he screwed up?
Oh, that's right.
Can you imagine if someone screwed up at the Olympia? They did one year. Dillette, they screwed up with Dillette. Did you know that?
Yeah, he was supposed to be like 4th or something like that, or 6th.
And he got 6th, and he was 8th, or
something like that. Yeah. Well, 96 is pretty old, so Monty Hall obviously had a good life, and he'll be missed. I have watched a lot of Price is Right. Remember they used to dress, I don't know if they still do. They still dress up in crazy costumes in the audience?
So. Yeah.
They do? No. Did you, before we get to the Prague Pro show, which happened this week, a big win for Roelly Winklaar, I wanted to talk about, I don't know if you saw Phil Heath that had some hernia surgery.
Yeah.
Is it his girlfriend or his wife now? I don't know. Is this still, I don't even know what, she calls herself Mrs. Heath, so I don't know if that's his wife, if his girlfriend is his wife now or not, but she announced on, I guess, Instagram, whatever, that they had, he had 2 hernia surgeries. I guess one was a lower abdominal hernia he had, and then one was the umbilical hernia, which we saw popping out. And she said it was, I guess, worse than they thought. That he was having his small intestine was being pinched off a little bit there. And obviously, I think I told you, my dad had that. My dad just recently he was complaining of pain, which he always is, and we thought he was being a hypochondriac, and we had sent him to the hospital, or the place where he's living, sent him to the emergency room. It turned out he had strangulation of his intestine because it was popping through the little hernia that he had in his pelvic wall there. And I guess Phil was getting something similar, but obviously it wasn't completely occluded. So, the feeling would be that he gets this taken care of, and now he's not going to have any abdominal distension, which is not the case, obviously. He's not going to have a hernia sticking out, but, you could still have abdominal distension after having surgery down there. Most bodybuilders, I think a lot of bodybuilders have been having the hernia.
Well, dude, look, his most muscular and back double bicep is still going to look the same, which means he's the leader running into the next year.
Yeah, absolutely. He probably was putting it off. He probably knew he needed it done. And, it's not – no one wants to get surgery when you don't have to, I guess. But when people start criticizing – think about it. This is going to be known as the bubble gut Olympia because Louis Marco, that's all they talk about is Phil's bubble gut, and they put all the pictures of the Sandow Trophy up there with the distended stomach. That's what Phil's going to be known for in 2017. So you got to put that behind him. And I'm sure he had to get the surgery at this point. He doesn't want, because people will pick on any little nuance, anything, any vulnerability, any chink in the armor that you might have. People will, like a bunch of rabid dogs, just devour that. You notice that?
Yeah,
they love it. They thrive on it.
Of course. Well, that's why I said, not hats off too, but Jay and Ronnie and Dorian, they got to have their reign before social media went nuts. So
there was no social media during most of their reigns.
It changes to some degree the dynamic, the level of stress on Mr. Olympia. I mean, it should change it, not at all actually, because you shouldn't be paying attention to it. But I know that takes a lot of discipline, and a lot of people have a lot of social media following, so they have to integrate themselves into it somehow.
The only criticism of Jay that I remember was from Kenny Jones, who used to call him Jay Gutler. You remember? Yeah. Isn't it funny? Like every Mr. Olympia has gotten their midsection made fun of.
Well, listen. You know why? I'll tell you why.
Why?
Because we want fucking 400-pound Mr. Olympias. We want them to have a bantamweight's midsection. I mean, it's I got news for you, dude. Everyone up on the Olympia's waist is wider than 5 years ago.
Oh, absolutely.
Pick every single person up on the Olympia stage. Heath, waist is wider. Yep. Who was second? Ramy, God, waist is wider.
Way wider, yeah.
Third was Bonac.
Yep.
He's holding his own. He looks good.
Yeah.
I don't think his waist got much wider. Fourth, Roden. Who was fourth? Dexter wider. Fifth, Roden wider. Sixth, Roelly wider.
Yep.
So I mean, it comes with the territory.
When you grow, everything grows. You can't target. Hey, I don't want to grow my waist. I'm only going to grow my quads and my back. It's when you're lifting heavy, everything thickens up, and that's just the way it goes. I mean, I think especially when you're gaining weight very quickly.
I'll do it, Dave. Watch. Are you going to tell me Flex Lewis's waist is not wider than it was 5 years ago?
Yeah. No, absolutely. So I'm going to use myself, Chris, as a for instance. When I was getting to my biggest, and I was 319 pounds, my waist got bigger. I mean, my problem was that I didn't have the wide shoulders of Jay Cutler, so it probably didn't behoove me to be that big. But I wanted to be the biggest, leanest, freakiest guy out there, and I guess in a sense I accomplished that. But when I decided to start downsizing, over the last 10 years, my waist, Chris, has gotten really tiny. I have a really small waist now. I mean, I don't know if the abdominal musculature looks as good as when I was younger because, the skin is not as tight and all that. But my waistline, if you measure my waist, it's very small. So muscle, gets bigger and smaller. And I think what happens is it's not that these guys, everyone's like, the guts are growing, the intestines are growing. No, it's not that. It's the musculature of your waistline. Think about what's in there. You have internal and external obliques on the sides there. You have the rectus abdominis muscles in the middle. You have the transverse abdominis muscles. Those muscles all hypertrophy just from training. You don't have to actually physically train them. And there's no way to stop it. And if you don't train your abs, you have no control of those muscles. So you can't not train them. What I tell people is train them with body weight. But so if you're taking a ton of anabolic substances that are going to make your body hypertrophy, it's going to hypertrophy everywhere. And that's just the way it goes. And if you have a big enough structure like a Ramy or a Jay or a Dennis Wolf or Marcus Rule, it looks good, even if the waistline gets bigger because they're so broad. But alas, Phil Heath has narrow clavicles. We know that. When he was, just coming up in the scene and he was winning pro shows initially, his waistline was teeny, and his upper body proportionally looked good. But for him to keep putting more and more mass on, his waist got bigger, and now his taper is not as good because he can't. There's no more space. He's not wide enough to accommodate all that muscle. So my question to you is: was it a good choice for Phil to get as big as he did, or did you think he made his physique worse by doing that?
I think that he didn't make any conscious decision to make it better or worse. I just think that...
Well, no one does. I'm just saying it just happened, obviously.
Yeah, it goes with the territory. Meaning, he's continually added body weight. He has more muscle than the first year he won, right?
Absolutely. Way more.
Yeah, so, I mean, his midsection is going to get wider. I told you, Dave, I already, people email me, oh, you don't talk about his waist. It's like, look, you know why? Because I was there 10 rows. I saw all the quarter turns. I saw all the shots. I didn't see anything that threw off his physique. And you can take 400,000 photos of him this year and next year, and you will find pictures with his gut hanging out. You'll find pictures of Dexter with his gut hanging out, Roden with his gut hanging out, Roelly with his gut hanging out. The only one who I haven't seen with his gut hanging out is, like I said, Bonac.
And you can catch him too in certain poses. He's got a lot of muscle on his little frame there. So he, I think a lot of it has to do with controlling it. I think what happens is these guys get lazy. No one marks them down or talks about it.
Yeah, but you know what?
Don't you remember?
But Dave, you know what? I disagree with that because Weinberger's asking for like 900 poses.
Right.
I mean, I don't care how long people do this. Well, in the 90s, we practiced. Well, you know what? Maybe people did practice more. But if you put the top 4, which typically in the last 4 years, they've narrowed it down in the Olympia to like the top 4 guys. Mm-hmm. And then they put them through front double. I mean, it's all on the line, dude. Front lat spread, side. By the time you get to the back double, I don't care who you are or how much cardio you've done or how much you've practiced. The adrenaline, the exhaustion, it's the last column prejudging. There's no controlling your midsection.
Yeah, no, I understand. Look, back in the 90s, people don't remember because people have a very short memory. This whole abdominal distension thing came up with Dorian and Nasser, and they were saying that these guys were going to be marked down, and they were marking them down for a while, and everyone all of a sudden started practicing their posing more and controlling the midsection because they knew that was an issue. Then at some point, I guess all the big mass monsters, disappeared. They retired or died or whatever the case may be, and you didn't have big guys anymore. So the gut issue never was a problem. And then with Ronnie and Jay pushing the limits, you started having a little. Jay never really had he has a very long torso. He never really had gut issues, but some people said he did. He just had a wide waist, but he didn't have gut issues. Ronnie had the gut issues because he had the short torso. And then after those two kind of were gone, we didn't really hear about it again for another 5 years or so. The first 5 years of Phil's reign. And then now all of a sudden the guys are starting to push maximum density again. I'm sure in the next 2-3 years people are going to say Rami has a big gut too. That's going to happen because he'll just keep getting bigger. And I think it just comes with the territory, and people forget this is not new. This is not a new thing. Dorian Nasser era, that was when it was at its height. I think the whole gut thing. So I think it's gonna. If you want to see mass monsters on stage, that's going to be part of the game.
What would Nasser say about the gut? Let's hear your imitation. Just so you're a new appointee in the radio.
He probably would call Dorian Yates Godzilla, right? Is that what he called him?
No, let's hear what he would say about the guts.
Chris, I am not here anymore, but the guts are out of control. Phil Heath, he should be sent to a termination camp, and they should get rid of him because he is bad for the sport. I think that even though I am not here, I do like this Rami, but he is not the real Egyptian because he is a fisherman, and in the Egyptian society, the fishermen, they are not considered citizens. So
no, what he would say is NASA would knock the condition of Rami, and compare it to his condition.
Right.
Because NASA would get nasty quads and
but you could say, but then you would say, but NASA, you didn't have the back that Rami has.
No, this is not true because you see that they caused me to overtrain my back because they said that I don't have the back because I was going against Backzilla, Dorian Yates, and you cannot win an Olympia with only a back and no arms, and he has no quads, and I just think that Dorian Yates obviously was on the payroll, and he would go on and on and on and on and
on. Crazy conspiracy theories.
Yeah. So I miss Nasser in the sense that I think I was hoping that with age he would mellow and he would be able to he would be a guy I can bring on a TV show and stuff like that. But he just was he had such hatred for everyone. I don't know. Maybe he knew he was sick and he blamed the sport for it sucks when you're dying. No one wants to really do anything positive when they're dying, unfortunately. And I think that he probably knew he had problems. That's why he kind of stayed out of the sport. You didn't really see him, and every once in a while he would pop up with a crazy interview and bashing everyone. But look, bodybuilding is what it is. That's why they created Classic Physique. Because if you want to look at small waistlines with vacuum poses, now you can watch Classic. And if you want to watch short guys, battle it out on stage, you watch the 212 division. So we kind of got everything, we got all the divisions, all the aspects of bodybuilding covered. So how we always say we'd love to see the 300-pound guy with the tiny bantamweight waist. It doesn't exist, but you could see the big guys now. You could see the guys with the tiny waists in the classic. And then you can see the short guys. If you're into short guys, and you want to see a lot of mass with very good conditioning because they have to make a weight, then you watch the 212s. And if you don't want to watch any posing, you watch men's physique. So we got pretty much everything covered, and I think that that's what makes the sport interesting now. You don't have to watch everything in one division anymore. You have different options, almost like different wines. I know Dave likes the Malbec. I'm the one who exposed him to it, but I like the Pinot Noir.
So. If you open up a wine cellar, a wine vineyard.
Yeah, I planted.
He'd take credit for it.
He would, of course. Yeah, I planted 2 grape plants. I told you that. Hopefully next year we'll get some grapes off this. I probably won't have enough to even make 1 glass of wine, but maybe in 10 years, when Logan's getting older, he could help me. You know how they always have the old Wapo Italians, as my dad would call them, making their own wine. You always went to one relative's house, right, Chris? The uncle, the crazy uncle who makes his own wine.
When I was little, we used to literally step on the grapes, in the barrel.
I knew it.
I can remember that.
I knew it. Everyone has the one kooky relative.
They had a winery. Dave, my grandfather had a winery in their backyard.
They did? See, that's what I want. I don't know if Florida's so great for growing grapes, though. You could do it probably in Maine, I bet you.
No problem. If you can do it in Maine, you should be able to do it in Florida.
Yeah, Florida's got...
Make a mango wine. Make a mango wine.
I do have some grape plants. We'll see how they grow next year. I also planted some blueberry bushes and some blackberry bushes. So we have a lot of plants. We actually went to this. I'm dying for royal palms. Are the real tall palms, with the thick, beefy. They're like the bodybuilder palms, I call them. And that's what you see when you're driving around. They're the really cool looking ones with the beefy trunks. So I've been looking for little ones because I want to plant them in my yard, and no one has them. So we went to this palm tree place yesterday, and they actually had them in. They had a lot of them, and they had a deal on them. So we bought a whole bunch of them. They're getting delivered tomorrow. And they're so big, I can't even bring them home in my car. They have to be delivered, and they install them, so to speak, or they bury whatever, dig the dirt up and put them in the ground. And so probably in 10 years, I'll have some cool looking palm trees on my property. So we're getting started. You gotta plant the seeds now. So when my kids get older, I'll be like, you remember when you were 18 months old and we planted that tree? They'll be like, Dad, would you stop telling this stupid story already about the freaking trees? That mango tree had 1 mango on it. Now it has 200.
Oh yeah.
So that's going to be me. I'll be telling stories about the old days. It's crazy because I see all these bodybuilders that I know now. They're in their 60s and 70s. From I guess the people we were watching growing up.
Yeah.
And I'm saying to myself, holy mackerel, what's going to happen when we become the old kooky bodybuilders that everyone's making fun of?
Dude.
Not yet. We're on our way. That's for sure, though.
Listen. I was on the playground with my 4-year-old.
Yeah.
This summer, and some 10-year-old did not believe that he was my son.
Really? What do you think? He was your grandson?
He was my grandson.
Wow. Yeah. Well, I'm probably, let's say, I'm in the same boat as you. We're old. We're old dads.
The point is to give you some context when you say the old kooky bodybuilders. We already are the old kooky bodybuilders.
I thought Blackman is like the old kooky bodybuilders. I still consider him he's in the old kooky range. Although I see John Romano is turning 57 or 58 or something like that.
Wow.
He just turned.
So he's getting pretty close to the kooky age. I call 60 the kooky age,
Yeah.
But I won't be saying that when I get there. I'll be saying, "Oh, 60s are young now. They're young." Very young.
No, it's not. People like, 50's the new 40. I said, yeah, but you're 20, so you're just saying that. So you're wrong actually.
I'll tell you
50.
I'll tell you one thing that I will. People have been asking me for an update on my shoulder replacement that I had done.
Yeah, what's happening?
And while I still need to get the other one done next year, the right one, the left one was way worse than the right one is. And while I'm not able to go to the gym and work it yet, for another couple weeks, I'm doing things now with my left arm that I don't think that I ever thought I would ever do in my lifetime.
Like what?
It's like, how you ever see these shows where the people are blind their whole life and then they all of a sudden get their vision back because they get some new experimental surgery and they see for the first time? That's how I feel with my left shoulder. I actually put my arm into the double bicep pose, the left arm. It wasn't great, because I still have some flexibility issues, but I did it without pain, and I don't remember the last time I actually was able to pose my arm in that position without pain. Not even without pain, but actually even able to move it into that position because of the physical obstruction that was there. So I find that now I couldn't get off the floor. Like if I would sit on the floor, I physically had to almost use my legs to squat myself up, and I only have one good leg too, So I was like a cripple. I couldn't get off the floor because just the act of putting my hand down to stabilize myself was so painful for my shoulder that I couldn't do it. So now I can do it with one arm.
They don't use the word cripple anymore. It's disabled.
Oh, disabled, yeah. So I was So I couldn't believe how disabled I actually was because I kept saying, I don't need it, and I'm sure that's what Phil Heath said about the hernia surgery. I don't need it yet, because who wants to go get surgery, right? So, but I'm anyone out there who's struggling with arthritis of your shoulders, to the point where it's starting to it affects you at night or anything like that. I'm telling you, I don't know how long this thing is going to last or how great it's going to be, but right now it feels 100 times better, and I still haven't gotten cleared to do all out stuff. I'm sure once I'm starting to use it more, it'll even get better. So. That was a good decision that I did make, so I have to admit. But I'm looking now. I'm actually looking. So anyway, I feel like I have more energy now because I'm not as debilitated. I can actually do things with my arm without being, because what happens is when you have pain, chronic pain, eventually it starts wearing you down a little bit. I think not good. All right, let's talk about the Prague Pro show, Chris. Roelly Winklaar upsetting the lineup here. William Bonac finishing second, Dexter third, Nathan Deasha fourth, Lucas Osterloh fifth. This has got to be a huge victory for Roelly Winklaar, and I'll tell you why. Because William Bonac, in my mind, and I know probably in your mind, was probably the legitimate second-place finisher at the Mr. Olympia competition behind Phil Heath. And he looked pretty damn good in this lineup, and Roelly Winklaar beats him. Good decision. Now, obviously, we weren't there. We're making this based on pictures, but we have the photos up at RxMuscle.com in our contest gallery. What did you think?
I would say it's a legitimate decision. Good decision, legitimate decision. I'll pretext it with this. Is when I saw the Arnold Classic Spain pictures, the way that it was being judged initially, you can see it by the lineup. The way they lined them up was top three, Bonac, Ramy, Roelly.
Right.
And the more I looked at that call of three people, the more I thought they were judging the show between Roelly and Ramy, meaning just big and big with Bonac in third.
Right.
Once they started to mix that up, I think the definitive, and I think the scorecards reflected this, once they mixed it up, Roden was in tremendous condition at that show, flat. On the flat side, but in tremendous condition. So the conditioning notched him into third with Roelly in fourth. But at least this, if you take the front double, Roelly versus Ramy, Roelly's better in the freak department.
Yeah.
In the most muscular, Roelly's better than Ramy in the freak department.
Yeah, but Chris, how does Roelly not beat Bonac at the Olympia? I don't think he's that much better. Do you?
Oh, because Bonac was perfectly peaked for the Olympia, and Roelly looked very good, but he was not probably as good as last year.
How does Roelly beat Dexter? How about that one?
Where, here?
Yeah.
Apples and oranges. You know what?
I thought Dexter looked good in the pictures.
Yeah. It's a legitimate call, right? Mm-hmm. But it's one of these calls where Dexter, if you go for complete density and muscularity from top to bottom, you can easily make the argument for Dexter.
Yeah.
I mean, his back was better, his back lat spread was better, his glutes and hams were denser, his side chest, while not as freaky as Roelly, and maybe they just went with freaky, you know, it was more complete and in tremendous condition. I mean, Dexter looked really good here.
I mean, it's, like I said, I'm looking at pictures, so we don't know. Steve Weinberger was there, so I'm assuming. I think he was there. I know, maybe he wasn't.
He was there. He was there.
Oh, he was there. Yeah. So I'm assuming, he's got a great eye. So he must have seen something that we're not seeing in the pictures. With Dexter. Maybe Dexter wasn't popping as much as he had. Look, I like Roelly Winklaar's physique. Matter of fact, I interviewed him at the Olympia at the Yamamoto Nutrition booth. And I was making him hit some poses, and my jaw almost hit the ground because, up close, he's very, very impressive looking. You see that tricep, that's a real tricep. That's not a jimmied up tricep. That's cross-striated, He's a freak. He really is. He's way more impressive when he's right next to you than when you see him in pictures.
Yeah, well, to his credit this year, traditionally, if you go back every year that Roelly's been around, he always on the tour gets worse. And by the last show, you know what I mean? I mean, he just gets worse.
Right. And
this show, he was better than he was at the Olympia. And I think Dexter was better than he was at the Olympia. And I think Bonac was, you're splitting hairs there, but I think, at the Olympia, he was totally perfect for his frame. Is
Bonac just a victim of the fact that he's just too short compared to these guys? I mean, is that? I mean, let's face it, size wins sometimes.
Bonac is a victim of the lineup. You're always a victim of the lineup. In other words, when Bonac, with all the muscle that he has, and he is the best he ever was at the Olympia, when he's standing next to Phil, you're not going to have him beating Phil, but he's standing next to, in that lineup, Dexter, and you say, well, he's got, I think, in shots more muscle than Dexter, and he's at his best in terms of condition, and then he's standing next to Ramy, who's the biggest on stage, and of those, the worst condition, right?
Yeah.
So the contrast is that, the lineup is important. Depends on who you stand next to. I mean, take Phil Heath out of the Olympia, and you got new Mr. Olympia.
Yeah, true.
Take Phil out of the Olympia, and you might be saying, Roelly's in next to Ramy, and put those two next to each other. Ask for a most muscular, a front double bicep, and a side chest, and who's pulling, who's ahead in those poses.
Yeah,
Roelly.
That's true. Yeah, true.
So I mean, arguments can be made. I think I just think that Dexter here was arguably the winner. Bonac looked great. I haven't dissected to the nth degree how Bonac looked in terms of compared to like previous shows, the Olympia, the Arnold, how he looked here versus Roelly, etc. I just think that Roelly has a lot of freak factor, and that played a big role. And you didn't have another freak in the lineup, so he was either going to win or get third.
Right. Yeah, and
He was either going to win or he was going to get third because you didn't have a freak factor, and that's why I brought up Sean Roden. Sean Roden's condition in Arnold Spain canceled out the freak factor of Roelly.
How come Roden didn't do the show? Does he have a bad taste about Prague?
No, he just wasn't doing the tour. I mean,
he
didn't want to do the. He's always on the tour. He didn't do the tour. He just did one show. He's done all the shows since 2012, every one of them.
No, I know he has, but he always gets a very, very bad call in Prague for some reason.
Well, Prague is always odd judging.
Yeah, it's like us not getting press passes in Prague for some reason. I don't know why.
Well, probably because we say there's always odd judging there.
I don't know. For some reason, someone put the kibosh on us.
You think that doesn't play a role, please? Oh, the judging was crystal clear, perfect.
All I know is I remember the one.
If Phil Heath can grow some thick skin, then people in Prague will judge the show in years past.
I don't think it's the judges. It's the promoter who did. It's the promoters who didn't want us.
I said all the promoters.
Yeah. I'll tell you one thing. Roelly Winklaar's got one crazy hairdo, doesn't he? He's got that like side part going on. He looks like my Uncle Luis. My Uncle Luis was from Ecuador, and That's what Roelly looks. Roelly looks like he's Ecuadorian. I swear to God, if I show you a picture of my Uncle Luis, my mother's sister married, you would say, holy mackerel, that's Roelly Winklaar. He looks exactly like him. He was a nephrologist, kidney specialist at Cornell Medical School there.
You could have him on live with.
Yeah, I haven't talked to him in years. He moved. I don't know. I think my cousins don't talk to their mom died, my mom's sister, and then I don't know. I don't know. They stopped talking to dad. I don't know. You know, my whole family, no one talks to each other in my family, and it's not because of me. It's always because of my other relatives.
Italian trait anyway. That's a very Italian.
That's the Jewish side. The Jewish. Yeah, the Jewish Spanish side. Well, it wasn't. You know, my Jewish aunt married my Ecuadorian uncle, but I liked him.
Because sometimes on my Italian side, they talk about, you know, family feuds, and it's to the point where sometimes people can't remember why they don't talk to people anymore.
I don't remember half the feuds why I don't speak to half my family and it's not my fault. It's because all my previous relatives, you know, put the kibosh on it. So I don't know. It's crazy. I'm glad I have a
third place. So Dexter ends up in third.
Yeah, to me, Dexter looked really good. I saw the pictures. I saw some video online of him after prejudging, and I'm like, holy mackerel, this freaking guy is going to win this show. And then he winds up placing third. I don't understand it because, you know, Dexter is a guy who's won the Olympia, who wins Arnold's, you know, and he really looked pretty damn good for this. And I got to be honest with you. And once again, I don't like to make judgment calls. I'm looking at the pictures, and Roelly's back double bicep is not that grainy hard here. You know, he's big, but he's not that grainy hard. So I don't know. Like I said, it seems like every year in Prague, there's always a weird decision. Even when Bonac won last year.
Yeah.
No one expected that, right?
Well, Bonac won, and then the year before, nobody expected the year before.
Did Dexter win or something the year before?
No, who won the year before? There was
he won one year against Roden. That Roden really beat him pretty good. And then I remember Roden lost also to Dennis Wolf there that one year that he should never have lost. So
yeah.
Roden's got more bad decisions at that show. And what was the show that Kai dropped out of?
That was Prague.
Was that the one where Dennis Wolf won?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I thought. So I don't know. But like I said, I'm glad to see that Roelly did win, even though it doesn't look like he should have won from the pictures, because I think that, you know, you have to understand that, you know, freaks sell tickets. I like Roelly's physique. I really do. I got to be honest with you.
Well, Dave, he wins. I mean, if you're impressed with freakiness, I mean, you got to give some points for freakiness. Like I said, he's got the most muscular, freaky arms, freaky side chest. At least in the upper body, and in the lower body. Just sometimes, you know, it's harder than others.
Yeah. Nathan Diaz finishes fourth. Lucas Oslittle, who probably, I'm sure, was the hardest guy in the entire show, fifth. Peter Clancier, sixth. And in the 212, Ricardo Correa won. How come none of the top guys did the 212 division here? How come all the top Olympian guys didn't go to Prague? Any reason?
Well, Flex only does one show.
Why didn't Jose go?
I am not 100% sure. Maybe because they screwed him a few years ago.
Oh, that's right. He got screwed there too. You're right.
I don't know. I haven't asked him, but he went to Korea. I mean, how many? You know, that's a lot of traveling.
That's true.
Korea to.
Yeah, but Jose likes that. Jose likes to travel.
He leaves tomorrow to Kuwait.
Oh, he's what is he? Oh, he's doing that 212 show in Kuwait.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, I wanted to ask you that question. Why did we should get Bader on and ask him the question? Why did Bader drop the pro show, the open show?
I don't know.
Isn't that weird?
Maybe ticket sales weren't good.
Well, he doesn't care about that kind of stuff. There's no business.
I'm kidding. He didn't sell any tickets. He just gave them away.
He gave them away, right. They were free tickets.
So that can't be an answer.
That's true.
Maybe he thought Ascanani was going to win the Olympia, and this would be his ticker tape parade.
Yeah, but Ascanani's not even in the lineup here.
He's going to be in the show.
You think he'll go in? Yeah, I think he'll go in.
Yeah, of course. Mark my words.
I see Hadi Chopin. Maybe he doesn't want him to go against Hadi Chopin.
Who knows?
Hadi's in this lineup. He's got to be considered the favorite after coming in second to Flex Lewis. I see Jose there. You know, Jose matches up very well with Hadi, I think, because they have a lot of.
We've never seen them side by side.
Yeah,
that?
maybe we will.
We've never seen Ascanani next to Jose.
Right.
I'm serious.
Well, hopefully we will here.
And we've never seen Hadi Chopi. next to Jose side by side. That is just mind-numbing.
Yeah. Well, we probably will here in Kuwait.
In the context of this, Dave.
What context?
Jose tied Chopi in Korea. Jose lost one prejudge and won the night show against Ascanani at the Olympia.
Yeah.
And yet he's never stood next to him.
It's kind of weird. I hope we see them.
Ever, for one pose. Not one pose.
Well, people said, Dave, you didn't criticize the Olympia.
NASA would say there's a conspiracy. NASA would come back and say, Dave, I think...
they're discriminating against me because of the Iranian.
No, it's the curse of the Bambino on Jose Raymond. Babe Ruth. They traded...
No, he would be like, they did not put me next to the Iranian because they know that the Egyptians do not like the Iranians, but it is not fair if I do not get judged against this man, and this is because the judges, they do not understand this. And Jose Raymond, he is very short, but...
Can I announce right now, please, if Jose Raymond actually beats Hadi Chopi, please, reserve the death threats. Don't make me cancel all my social media. I actually like Instagram and stuff.
Yeah, let me ask you this, Chris. I know that the Iranians can't come to the United States because of Trump. Can they go to Kuwait, or do the Kuwaitis not like the Iranians? I don't know all the inter Middle Eastern politics that goes on there.
Well, no, Iranians are not best friends with Kuwaitis.
That's what I heard. That's what
Kuwaitis are not best friends with.
You know who told me that? My Iranian expert, or Persian expert, as they like to call themselves, is King Kamali. He does.
King Kamali knows because there is a very distinct religious difference between the two.
Yeah. Well, evidently there's two Iranians in the lineup here, so this obviously it must be okay to go to Kuwait. Jafar Azizi is also coming in from Iran. I have to ask King Kamali about him because Kamali said there's a lot of 212 guys.
Kamali to fly over there and judge or something.
Yeah, why not? It's a pretty international
super guest judge.
I see.
Kamali would love it. He'd like to do the lineup.
Yeah. Milan Shadik is going to be in that lineup too. Milan Shadik is in that lineup too.
Well.
Yeah,
it's a good lineup.
Yeah, no, it's very. Ricardo Correa's in the lineup, who just won in Prague. So I have to give it to Bader. He's got his good lineup, but I don't know why he got rid of the Open. The Open was exciting last year. So
maybe they said he fixed it or something.
I don't believe it. He's got a men's physique show here too. He's got 7 guys from Kuwait and 1 German guy. So maybe we'll have some new superstars emerging in the men's physique division from the Kuwait. The Bader did tell me he's got a whole little farm system there, of the guys. So you never know. 7 guys. I didn't even know.
He's got a big budget. I told you.
Yeah. That's next week. Let's go back to this week. Ricardo Correa won the 212 division here in Prague.
Very good.
With
Very good.
Steve Benton second, Ronnie Raquel third.
Steve Benton is also very good. Very underrated.
Yeah, a lot of people, we haven't heard that name, Chris, and people would assume that, he's just some slouch, but he's really good.
I've seen him at the Prague show on 2 occasions, and I think I might have seen him in the Arnold Spain in the Open.
Really?
And he's been traditionally overlooked.
He's got great quads. Really good. Crazy. So, well, I like to see new names come up, and I like to see new talent.
He's a German, right?
I don't know. He might be.
It's Steve Benton, right?
Steve Benton, yeah.
Yeah, that's him. That's the guy I've seen because I'm like, I was impressed with his physique, and then I thought, this doesn't sound like a German name. Steve.
Yeah. Well, he might be.
Ted.
Might be short for something. I'll have to ask. I have to defer to my my German.
Yeah. No, just get DJ on the line. He speaks German.
No, I defer to Roman Fritz. Any German questions? He'll probably text me when he hears the show because I know he listens to everything we do. So Roman will give me the lowdown on Steve Benton. Ronnie Raquel second, Pascal Chukwa fourth, Zoran Kolevsky in the 5th position. And then, of course, they had a bikini open, too, here in Prague. Margaret Nahr won, Yana Kuzmsova in second, and Brina Martinez in the third position. Congratulations. Margaret will requalify for the Olympia. So, Prague went off without a hitch, and seems like they had a good time over there. So,
and that's it for the tour, right? There's no new shows. The Finland show is like an IFBB show, right?
You got the Kuwait Pro next week. Then you have... Let me see.
You see the IFBB has a new division. It's men in not shorts, but pants.
I think... Oh, you got the San Marino show at the end of the year.
I'm not kidding, right?
No. What's the division?
There's a new division. It's men bodybuilders with good V tapers in jeans.
Oh, is that the model division? Is that the
jeans? No, but I think they hit poses.
Right. I don't know. Where are they? Is that the amateur IFBB division?
It's not the Mannion division. I'm so confused. I'm going to refer to them for now as the Mannion division and the
Raphael division.
Well,
they made a big announcement. Let me give you the whole backdrop. Our photographer in Europe there, Pierre Lamley, our good friend. They had a press conference, and he stood up. The Prague Pro people had a press conference, and Raphael was sitting up there, and the promoter of the Prague show was up there, and Pierre stood up and said and asked a question, and his legitimate question. He goes, what's going to happen to this show, next year?
Next year,
right? Because it's an IFBB amateur show, this weekend.
That should be 2 damn sentences long.
And
the answer should be 2 sentences.
The promoter said, well, we don't really know.
Start off with well.
And so Pierre said, what do you mean you don't know? Rafael Santoja is sitting right next to you. He's the president of the IFBB Amateur League. So this guy got nervous, and he handed the microphone to Rafael. And Rafael is such a politician, He's like, he gives the politically correct, well, we don't want to address this now because, we don't want to inhibit the athletes who are competing today.
Want me to translate? He don't know either. They're still in the kibbutz.
Right. So after the show was over, Pierre got back to me and texted me because I said, let me know what happens. And then I guess Steve Weinberger made the announcement there that they were going to be next year. This was going to be an NPC show. The amateur event.
So there's the answer to that.
Yeah.
When someone answers well, the promoter, that doesn't bode well for Raphael. And when Raphael gives like a convoluted answer, the IPB started 1,400 years ago, and the Constitution and the Olympics, then it's all a snowball.
Oh my God, crazy, right? It's crazy times, but So
you know what? We have to pull out Romano again. We have to get Romano because Romano used the euphemism of MD as the Titanic going down. So he needs a new euphemism for the IFBB because I don't think... Listen, Dave. Phil, Rami, Dexter, Jay, Dorian... Those are Mr. Olympian competitors or winners. Haney. I mean, you really think that someone who's bodybuilding wants to compete in a new contest, the only way they're going to take any thunder from the Olympia is the prize money goes like this. We're having a show. It's $500 guaranteed first prize, $350 second, $250 third.
Right. $250,000, you're saying, yes.
Yes. If you don't give that prize money,
no one will come.
Say goodbye to control and professional bodybuilding. Meaning on the IFBB Raphael side, it is not going to happen.
Well,
because people will go with what's established. They'll go with prestige. They'll go with dependability. Mm-hmm. They will go for the money if the money is absolutely guaranteed. And it probably can't even be a one-time showboat event.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because the chances are maybe they could give the money out once, and then everyone could be like,
Maybe Raphael can bring Steve Bleckman in as an advisor to this new division, to this new pro division, pro league. Seems like everyone's got a pro league nowadays, But the problem is that the only pro league that the bodybuilders really want to compete in, at least the top ones, is the real one. Is the IFBB, which sanctions the Mr. Olympia competition. I see, Lee Thompson's got this NSL thing going on. They're turning people. They got people winning pro shows that can't even place top 10 at a pro show here. So I always say there's a league for everyone. We should just make.
Dave, you asked me at the beginning of the show, Chris, would you like to own real estate in New York City? No, I'm a wimp. That's the answer. Of course I would. Of course I would. Why don't you? Because I'm wimpy. In other words, you know what? If you're going to call yourself like a mogul, you know what I mean? You go to New York City. Really.
True.
And if you're going to call yourself the best bodybuilder in the world, you go to the Olympia.
Good analogy. Very good. Very good analogy.
So, that is what the IFBB is up against. They are up against that legacy, and I'll tell you what, Robin Chang is going to play that stuff up to the yin-yang this year, meaning the legacy, and rightfully so, because it belongs to you, meaning it belongs to the people who are controlling it now. What do you call it? IFBB? Okay, don't call it the IFBB Mr. Olympia. Just call it the Mr. Olympia.
Yeah. True. Now, not to switch topics, but I'm going to switch topics because we're nearing the end of our show, and I have a couple of interesting articles. And I know I'm obsessed with probiotic bacteria and the good bacteria of the gut flora, right?
Yeah.
So they just came out with a study, Chris. I got to do my Bleckman voice when I do the study. There was a study that just came out about weight loss, and they showed in the International Journal of Obesity that weight loss may be dependent on the specific types of bacteria that breed in your gut and your poop. Or fecal matter, just if I want to be correct. Yeah, like we've been saying, some people, Chris, you ever work with people that they just don't respond to a typical diet? Well, they're saying now that your gut bacteria are a better predictor of whether you will lose weight or not than the actual diet that you're on. They actually did, in Denmark they did this. They took 62 overweight people, and they put them on two different diets. One is like a high fiber. They call it the New Nordic diet. It's like dark greens, berries, whole grains. Lean protein sources. And then they put them on a grainless, a diet. They call it the grainless standard Danish diet, which is like lean meat, eggs, lettuce, and coffee. Okay, and they found that it didn't really matter which diet you did. People lost weight, but what mattered was the type of bacteria in your feces, believe it or not. Those on the New Nordic diet lost weight about 7 pounds more than the standard Danish diet, only if they had a high ratio of Prevotella to Bacteroides in their feces. Those are different types of bacterial cultures. For those with a low ratio, it didn't matter which diet they followed because there wasn't a big difference in terms of weight loss. In other words, people with different amounts of gut bacteria responded differently to the same diet, which may totally explain why your best friend's, quote, miracle diet resulted in weight loss of 0 pounds for you. So basically what they're saying is that how your body handles, different foods is very dependent on the bacteria that make up the colonic, bacterial cultures there. And I've been saying this for years that, that taking a good fiber diet, you got to remember, people don't realize this. How do you nurture the right bacteria in your colon? That's a big question people ask me all the time. Do you take probiotics? Yeah, taking probiotics works, but whether the bacteria that you're ingesting actually can colonize your colon or not is another story, right? I mean, think about it. You can throw parrots into the Arctic Circle, and they're just not going to live there. It doesn't matter how many parrots you release in the Arctic Circle; they ain't going to live there because why? It's not the right climate there. So you could take all the probiotics you want, but if you're not going to nurture them and allow them to grow in your colon, then they're not going to grow. And what nurtures them? Believe it or not, Chris, soluble sources of fiber are the food source. They're the food source for these bacteria. And if you don't feed these bacteria in your colon, they die. So you could take probiotics all day long. It's the fiber supplement that you consume or the foods with fiber in it that you consume that are going to feed these bacteria. And the easiest thing to do, and I've been saying this for years, and you know this is, and I'm just telling you to get a couple of your clients on this, is my FiberLize product. It doesn't have to be mine, but psyllium-based fiber supplements are a terrific food source for these good bacteria. And if you take a fiber supplement twice a day on a regular basis, you will feed them, and that will, once again, help you lose weight. Now, one of the reasons that we know of why they help you lose weight, because this study determined that these bacteria are important to weight loss, but they didn't really say how. But one of the ways that we know how is that these bacteria can ferment these soluble sources of fiber and create and release short-chain fatty acids. And these short-chain fatty acids then will go into the bloodstream and go to the liver, and they'll tell the liver, stop producing glucose. What does that do? Well, if your liver is not cranking out glucose, via gluconeogenesis from amino acids, okay, your blood sugar levels are lower. Okay, when your liver does crank glucose out, what happens? Your body has to release insulin to absorb that glucose, which obviously we know insulin is a fat storage hormone. So one of the mechanisms by which bacteria can cause weight loss is by suppressing this liver output of glucose and thus lowering insulin levels. So it's very important. And the reason I bring up this study is because it's another, I guess you could say, nail in the coffin of evidence that shows that a high or a good quality fiber supplement consumed on a regular basis in conjunction with, taking a probiotic can absolutely influence weight loss in a positive direction. Comments? Criticisms?
You've been saying it for a long time.
Yeah, well, I love when I have validation.
When you feel right. Yeah. Good.
Because, I've seen it in action, but a lot of, I can't tell you how many people that I started who, it happens a lot with women. They're constipated. They don't go to the bathroom on a regular basis. They have been having supreme trouble losing weight. They've tried every diet. Nothing works. And, I get them on, I put them on a diet. I get them on my fiber supplement, and all of a sudden they start losing weight. Now, most people chalk it up to the diet, which I'm sure has something to do with it. Absolutely. All the variables work together. It's not just one item that does something. But when you put fiber into your diet, a good quality fiber supplement, you will find that you lose weight better. Okay? Now we have convincing evidence that not only is it the fiber that's actually getting rid of waste and moving toxins out of your body, but it's actually the fiber is feeding these good bacteria, and they're showing that this study has demonstrated that the good bacteria in your colon are a better predictor of weight loss than the diet you're actually on. So,
do you hate my same question I give you over and over, which I gave it to you, Today's Monday, I gave it to you on Wednesday. What's the same question I keep asking you over and over, and I don't even... I pass the advice on, but I guess I'm so busy.
I don't remember. I'm going senile.
Say, Dave, I'm helping someone. His gut's blown up.
Oh, yeah. And I tell him to have him order FiberLize, and you do.
Yeah. And
solves the problem.
Dave, I'm telling you, this guy, the very next day, he used it 3 times the day that you told me.
Yeah.
And I just copy your text, and I send it to him. I said, this is what Dave Palumbo says.
The key, though, is using it on a regular basis, so you don't have to just use it in emergencies. Use it. Get used to using a good quality dual fiber supplement, because fiber comes in soluble and insoluble. You need mostly soluble, but you want both. And like I said, you don't have to use mine, but mine is perfectly, I guess you could say, formulated. It tastes good. It works effectively. It's way better than Metamucil out there, and people will confirm that. And like I said, the reason I made it is because I know it works, and no one was producing a supplement a fiber supplement, at least for that matter, that addressed all the topics and areas that needed to be addressed. So, it's just one of these things it's a no-brainer. Think about all the food we eat, all the supplements we take. Why would you leave out a fiber supplement? It's so important. And you know what? I didn't use it for many years, and I had a lot of distension problems until I started taking a fiber supplement, and it really, really helped me tremendously. Now, I was also talking about the fact that, you and I are always kidding around with each other, but it's probably not a joke that we're losing our minds. And your wife's hypothesis is that you're too busy. You're too busy, right?
No, her hypothesis was that you've got so many different things that you are thinking about that you fail to prioritize on, let's say, a pyramid, that no one could be able to put those in order.
Right.
On a day-to-day basis, given how busy you are. So it feels like you're losing your mind when, in fact, you're not thinking properly. You're not eliminating things that you don't need to think about, and you're not prioritizing the things that you do need to prioritize and think about. So it just feels like you've lost your mind.
Yeah. That might be a nice way of saying you're losing your mind, but I don't want to tell you. So that's what I think. So
dead serious. You want to know what's funny?
What?
I'll take a picture of it. I have on my desk a sticky note that is one of the greatest inventions in history, sticky notes.
Yeah.
That says, practice working on memory. And I don't even know what practice means. And I have another sticky note that says, from my 13-year-old, Dad, order ginkgo from Amazon. Because he knows that I have a poor memory.
Well, here's a better one. I'm staring across the room at my wife's desk, and there's about 10 orange stickies on her desk with nothing written on them that my son stuck to the desk. Maybe that's a message that Daddy doesn't remember anything, So I'm not going to even put anything on there. Oh my God. So anyway, because we're losing our memory, I have a lot of people who send me stuff and articles, and I appreciate all that stuff that people do, because a lot of times I can't keep up on everything. This one guy's been asking me, "Hey, Dave, do you take EDTA?" And I'm like, no. I said, isn't?
Oh yeah, gosh, I haven't heard that in a long time.
I said, isn't EDTA a chelating agent? Like, I always remember people saying when they have heavy metal toxicity, like lead poisoning.
Yeah, that's what it's for, right?
Yeah, well, I guess there's a new thinking now that people are using EDTA to help pull calcium out of their arteries, they say it cures coronary artery disease, or it can pull toxic metal. Because I'm convinced I won't be tested because I'm too nervous. I'm convinced I have mercury poisoning, or at least high levels of mercury from all the sushi I've eaten over the years. That's scary to me, but who knows what we got in it. But I hear a lot of this stuff can affect mental function. So I'm thinking maybe I should. So I bought this EDTA stuff. It's like it's a sublingual version. It's like a powder. It looks like the old, I don't know if you remember GHB back in the day in the 90s. You would just scoop it out. It looks like a little scoop. It has a little scooper like that. It actually even tastes a little like it. And you put it under your tongue. GHB. You don't get the buzz from the EDTA, but it reminds me of that. So you put a little scoop.
How many people do you know, Dave, who are did people take GHB to fall asleep, or the GH effect, or just to get high?
I did it to fall asleep. I didn't realize people were getting high, but I went to California and I was eating in the firehouse, and there was like 10 people with their head in their plate, and I'm like, what the hell's going on here? People are so tired, and I forget who was sitting with me. He's like, no, they're all scooping. It was called scooping, because you would get these little containers of powder, and you'd you take a scoop of it, but if you did too many scoops, you would pass out, basically.
Yeah, listen, let me do a little side note. I know somebody who made $1 zillion on GHB.
Right.
And he sold it at like GNC's. He sold it.
Yeah, it was a regular. It wasn't illegal back then.
But I mean, he was just like first to market, and it was a drug, right? It was a drug, period.
Right, but people didn't know that because it was gamma hydroxybutyrate. They figured it was a GABA metabolite, which it was.
He thought he was a supplement guru thereafter, so he took the $1 million in profits that he had in the bank,
right.
And he had asked me about doing a supplement company. Dave, what year could have that been?
Probably the mid-'90s, I would say.
And I told him, don't go in to the supplement business because you are not a supplement company. You are a drug dispensing agent. And he lost all his money. He
did?
All of it.
What company did he open?
He had whoever was the biggest GHB people at the time. I know he had a clear. You could go into any Long Island supplement store. And it had renewed.
Oh, I know those guys. They were involved with the guys who owned Dolphin Fitness, weren't they?
Renutrient, whatever.
Yeah, Renutrient. Yeah, that was the Dolphin Fitness guys.
When I remembered that, Dave.
Yeah. I owned. I had half a gym with one of those guys. They scammed me, but then he died. So I don't know. They were crazy. Those guys.
He lost it all because he thought he was a supplement guy.
Yeah, I can see that happening. That was the good old days. Anyway, so I'm taking this EDTA, and I only took it one night. I didn't sleep last night at all, so I chalked that up to the coffee, but it could have been the EDTA.
Maybe it was a stack.
It was a stack. I'm shocked that Bleckman hasn't done that. I'm sure he's got some kind of that leaches calcium from the bone. They're actually saying it actually helps with osteoporosis, believe it or not. I don't know how, but it does. You would think I guess it puts the calcium back into the bones as opposed to taking them out of the body. I don't know. So I'm taking it. I put it under my tongue at night. You're supposed to do 2 days, like a quarter of a scoop, and then you do 2 days of a half a scoop, 2 days of 3/4 of a scoop, and then 2 days of a full scoop, and then you go to a scoop twice a day. And I guess you could, the people who sell it want you to take it forever, but I was told to do 30 days of it. So I'm going to try 30 days. I'm going to see if my thinking improves at all.
Yeah, let me know. I'll do anything right now. When my thinking improves.
I think in the worst case scenario, I'll pull some mercury out of my body if I got any. What I'm going to do is I'm going to do 30 days of EDTA, and then I'm going to get, when I go to the next doctor for my next blood work, I'm going to have them test me for mercury because I'm going to feel like I'm cleaned out a little bit. I'll see if it worked.
Yeah.
Anyway,
you can't give up sushi, so you're going to have to take that stuff forever anyway.
That's right. Well, you know what I do when I eat sushi now? This is how nuts and neurotic I am. I only eat the salmon and yellowtail. I try to avoid the tuna. I have a little bit of tuna, but I don't eat too much of it. Because Jason Ha had a mercury toxicity. He had to get. I think he went for chelation therapy. Actually, he was really bad. He was getting side effects, but he was eating sea bass every day, and he was eating like a lot of sushi. And so I don't do it every day. I'm on the Chris Aceto diet now. I keep reducing. Yeah, I reduced my food down to almost nothing now.
Yeah,
that's the only way I can lose weight, lose muscle.
Yeah,
my blood pressure's lower when I'm leaner.
Save money too.
Yeah, you know what? No, but you know what I do? I rationalize going out to eat every meal now because I only eat twice a day. So that's the trade-off right there. Anyway, so I'll let you guys know how the EDTA works out. I think there's some definite science behind it, and I don't know. All right, let's end the show on a funny note. Okay, obviously we're still I'm still in shock.
It's all been pretty funny actually.
Yeah, I'm in shock still over the terrible thing that happened in Las Vegas with the guy going on the killing spree. But evidently the FBI, Chris, has seized. They did a raid on a morgue employee's home. You know how they have these guys that work in the morgue?
Yeah.
Well, they did a raid on his house, and they found 3,000 penises in jars.
Oh, gosh, Dave, I just can't even take the nuttiness of people.
How crazy are people? They executed a search warrant at the residence of a Houston mortician, and 3,178 embalmed human penises were in jars all over his house. The FBI suspected that 54-year-old Dave Murphy, an employee of the Harris County morgue, is being implicated in an organ trafficking network. Can you believe the fucking nut jobs? I don't think he was trafficking them. He was keeping them. They were on shelves everywhere, filled with hundreds and hundreds of glass jars.
Have a museum at some point, probably.
Yeah.
People would attend it as well. So it's just as people would attend that museum. So
he explained in great detail, Chris, how he had been cutting off dead men's genital organs and collecting them for more than 10 years. So he really wasn't trafficking them; he was collecting them.
Yeah, some of them were antiques, probably.
I bet there's a couple people in our industry that we could probably doing the same thing. We shouldn't even laugh. Unbelievable. A total of 53 criminal charges have already been filed against Mr. Murray, and hundreds more could be filed over the next few days. I mean, is that technically thievery? I guess cutting the penis off of someone, because it's kind of gonna get eaten up anyway when the guy's laying in the ground, the dead guy. I mean, it's kind of a little sick though, I guess you could say.
Yeah, it's more sick than thievery.
Yeah, if you saw the picture of the guy, you would not for 1 minute.
Well, that is the point. That is the whole point. That is the whole point. You've just made my point. I was at the playground today.
He looks like he collects penises. This guy.
Oh, he looked normal or unnormal?
No, he looked like a fucking nutcase.
Okay,
it's always.
I thought you could say he looks 100% normal.
It's always the guys.
You can't judge a book by its cover.
No, the guys who look crazy are always the guys that have one eye going off to the side. You ever notice that? They always have like a wandering eye. These cuckoo birds. He's got like a ponytail on top of his head. I mean, just a nutball. I mean, it's crazy to know that these people are circulating in society among us. And I'm sure when we're at the Mr. Olympia, there's probably hundreds of them surrounding us that we don't even know about. They collect penises and they collect fucking fingernails and women's dirty panties and who knows what they're collecting. But We don't, you know, you just don't have, you don't get to view their house, you know. Think about it. If we took 100 people at the Olympia and we searched their house, how many of those 100 people, Chris, would you find disturbing things at their house?
Well, you can go to the mall and just go to the mall and do the same experiment.
But I'm just saying, I'm talking about in our bodybuilding industry. I guarantee you at least 25% of them, you would be horrified at what you found.
I'm proudly oblivious
Me too.
to the wackiness.
Me too. All right. Well, hopefully everyone's enjoying all the coverage we're doing here, Chris. Yeah, I when I think about Monty Hall, getting back to Monty Hall, 4,000 episodes, we're probably at, what, 500? What are we? We've been doing this for how many years now?
Oh, my goodness.
8
Since
years?
I didn't have kids, I think. I'm just kidding.
We're probably close to 500 episodes of Heavy Muscle Radio, okay? And we're not even a fourth, 25% of the way where Monty Hall did. So we'd have to do this for another, 100 years, another 25 years before we get to Monty Hall territory. But then again, Monty Hall was 96 years old, so there's hope for us. But you know what, Chris? If we're still doing this in our 90s, we won't know what the fuck we're talking about. We won't probably remember what the fuck we're talking about. So
some people say we don't know what the F we're talking about now.
That's true. Sean Ray would say that.
Oh, speaking of what the F, Hugh Hefner croaked as well. Hugh Hefner
91,
died.
Yeah, 91.
I figured for some reason because he was a pioneer and.
Would you think Blackman would think that he's a magazine mogul, or would he would he look up to him, or would he look down?
Yeah, because I think Blackman in his time was a magazine. I think Blackman was a magazine.
Right, but would Blackman look up to Hugh Hefner as being someone he would want admired?
Absolutely, because Hugh Hefner was a trailblazer, and
But a lot of people don't say that he was a misogynist towards women. He had a publishing empire. Well, just the way he conducted his social life, with the women. He supposedly those three. Remember they had that Playboy reality show where they had the three girlfriends living in the house there.
Yeah.
What was it called? Amanda probably watched it. What was it called, Amanda?
Three's Company.
She said she did watch it. Well, supposedly they interviewed the one Holly Madison girl who she was like the number one girlfriend there. She said that she was basically a prisoner there, and that she couldn't get out. She was locked in there, and she could only wear the clothes that Hefner said to wear,
what is?
She said that he was very unaffectionate.
I'm sure she was really interested in his personality and not his money.
Yeah. She didn't mention the fact that how much money Hefner was paying.
Expectations that people make believe that aren't there, that they forge these unholy alliances. Hugh Hefner, 90, and some 22-year-old, girl. And what do they have in common? They talk about what?
I don't know. Good question.
She likes his money and he likes her body.
Right. There you go.
And then after the fact, once he's with all the power, gets rid of her, kicks her off the show, she says, "I was a prisoner." Well, you know what? You're a paid prisoner. You've got access to his money.
Right.
If there's confusion on what the relationship is there, I apologize that, he was just so into your personality and you were into his.
Yeah. I guess people set themselves up.
Funny too. Where were all the 90-year-old women with 18-year-old guys?
I bet you there's a few pro bodybuilders that would probably go for that.
David. You know what? I'll never forget. You can go to South Florida and see all the grandfathers out with their granddaughters on the weekend. But the grandmothers don't take out the grandsons. In other words, there's all kinds of 60-year-old men with 18-year-old girls. They're everywhere.
Wouldn't it be great, if Madonna, when she hit 80 or something like that, decided she was going to have the top 3 bodybuilders in the world living in her mansion or something like that, and servicing her?
I don't know. When Cher was, how old was Cher?
That's right. Cher had a lot of guys. Yeah.
All young guys.
Yeah. But no one did a reality. That would be a great reality show. Madonna, at 90 years old, with living with some 25-year-old bodybuilders, and she's getting them ready for the Olympia.
Cody and
Cody and Guy's sister Nina living in the house with her.
And Reagan.
And Guy would be great. Can you imagine Guy like having to have sex with a 90-year-old Madonna?
He would definitely not put up with her crap. He'd pass on the contract. That's one thing about Guy. Guy, we got you on this reality TV show. It pays $1 million a month. I'm not doing it.
He might do it though. He might do it. He would have his journals out and everything like that, and he'd be great for that show.
He'd be great for a reality TV show with Madonna, though.
Yeah,
because it'd put her in a place and say, you know what, we just, this is not part of the fine print contract.
She'd be like, "You're fired. You're fired." You know what? I got to tell you, I watched a show that you love for the very first time. I'm embarrassed to admit that I've never seen it. Shark Tank. My wife and I were watching it. Yeah, we were watching it, and they were all these crazy people with the different businesses they're trying to sell. It's a good show. It's a very good show. I like the fact that the millionaires on there, or billionaires, whatever you wanted to call them, argue with each other or who's gonna fund each project.
Yeah. Ultimately, if you have something goofy like, Lori she'll take it to QVC and sell it to Middle America.
Yeah. Yeah, but
a mop that turns into like a toothbrush or something.
They had a guy on there who had developed this bird feeder that had this static shock thing on there. So if a squirrel were to try to steal
Dave, I'm dead serious. I have birds in my backyard. It looks like a bird sanctuary, and we can't feed them. Because we have squirrels in our attic. I have squirrels. I've been sitting in my family room once, years ago, and have squirrel run across the.
Right. Oh, really? My father's like that. So listen. If there's a squirrel who's taking the bird seed from the bird feeder, that's shock him to death. It gives him a static shock. So they leave it alone, and everyone's like, "We're not investing in this. This is like cruelty to the squirrels. No one wants to shock a squirrel."
It encourages the lives of the birds that need the food.
See, Chris, you would understand that because you come from Maine. These guys like Mark Cuban don't live in Maine. They don't understand that squirrels are a pain in the ass there, and that they're not allowing the birds to feed. So this guy, no one would invest in it. They're like, "You're out of your mind. No one's going to invest in it. You're attacking squirrels here." He's like, "It's just a static shock." So then they all put their hands on it so everyone could feel what it felt like. I said, "This is a great show. I can't believe I never watched it before. It was fantastic."
Oh, no, people like the QVC stuff. Put this is a little device that self-cleans your toilet every, 36 hours. People will buy that on QVC up to Yin Yang.
Yeah.
Something that keeps your, who knows?
Anything
that you think can add a convenience, especially when it comes to cleaning. All the number one sellers are cleaning stuff.
I like the fact that these guys, and now that I'm in business, I realize what works and doesn't work through the hard way, of course. And I love when they ask the pertinent questions like, well, once you do this, how are you going to continue to make money? And they don't have answers to these people.
We haven't thought that far ahead.
Yeah. Some of these people are very well prepared. They got all the numbers and everything. They can answer every single question. Those are usually the people that they invest in. So, all right. Well, Chris, enjoy your day. I've got a lot of stuff doing. We're redoing the whole RxMuscle studios. We're gonna have a lot of great new coverage. Obviously, Johnny Styles has left the company. A lot of people have asked me what's up and coming, and me, always recreating. Where one person leaves, I get even a better person in its place. And we have a lot of great new programming coming up over the next year. We also have, we're redoing our studio and revamping a lot of stuff. It's a new era in RxMuscle history. Over the next week or two, you'll start to see us rolling out some new stuff, and I'm excited about it. And, I always want to up our game. I want to keep upping the production value of what we do, Chris, here at RxMuscle. It's very important. And, I want to just thank you for your friendship and, of course, your loyalty, you and John Romano. We've been doing this for God knows how many years, and I know a lot of people, depend on our coverage and all the programming we give them to get them through cardio and get them through the depressing parts of their day and then to lift up their spirits. And if our inadequacies and our foolhardery will help that, is that even a word? I'm not using the right term.
It became, once Trump was elected, it became a word. That and bigly.
Yeah.
Bigly.
Yeah. People,
B-I-G-L-Y.
it's funny. The people are so crazy out there. Like, I put up a video of my son trying a protein potato chip that Mr. G made, my friend Mr. G made, and people are like,
They want to order it, I bet.
Yeah, but they do. But then there's always a couple people. There's one jerk off who, like, because my son sucks on a pacifier, he's like,
you're gonna ruin his teeth.
Yeah, I'm gonna ruin his life because of it. It's funny how there's always a person with a freaking opinion out there.
Comfort of a pacifier for the rest of his life.
Yeah.
Shame on you.
Yeah.
And your radio show sucks.
Right. Yeah, and I beat my wife too.
Listens to it.
Yeah, someone else said I beat my wife. So my wife goes in there. She's like, "That's interesting." She goes, "I wonder where you got that from." So everyone's got an opinion on that. That's what's so great about YouTube. And I don't even, what the funny thing is, I don't even take off the bad comments off the YouTube videos. I like them. I'm amused by them, actually.
No, that's what dictators do.
Yeah, we have by the way, we have 91,000 subscribers now, Chris, on the RxMuscle YouTube channel. So anyone who's listening out there, please subscribe to RxMuscle. My goal was 100,000 by the end of the year. I said 90,000 by the Olympia. We got to 90,000. We're up to 91. So we need 9,000 more by the end of the year. We'll hit 100,000. I'll get that stupid silver button that the YouTube sends us, and I'll hang it up in the office here, and I'll make a big deal about it. But it just goes to show me that people really enjoy what we're doing out there, and that inspires me to work harder and to bring you guys better programming and coverage. So hopefully you're enjoying everything out there. Like I said, if you like our coverage, go on that YouTube channel and hit subscribe. For now, we're out of time. Until next week, remember, with Heavy Muscle Radio,
the truth hurts.
It sure does. Good night, everyone.
911!